Tingles here. Thank you so much for being here today. I am happy to be here, and I hope that you are as well. So today's video is a very special video. I have wanted to do this video for 3 years. If we're being completely honest with each other, I have been very hesitant to make this video, and I'll explain why later. But I'm ecstatic to be able to do this now, and I hope that it is relaxing. I hope that it is entertaining, informative. Yeah, you'll see. Anyway, so today's video is titled Before ASMR. I was a rapper. Okay, so I'll get into all the details in a little bit, but basically I did music for about 8 or 9 years before this channel started, and it was a really fun time of my life. I made 9 albums. I toured to about half the country. I did over 400 live shows. I opened up for some really big artists. It was an amazing time, to say the least. The reason I was hesitant to make this video, honestly, is because I didn't want people to think like... So this was like when I first started doing ASMR. I didn't want people to think, oh, he has a following because he already had a following and he has a head start and all of that. And it's taken me 3 years to realize that doesn't matter. And honestly, I would wager that there's not very many people who were a fan of the music that are here today. So anyway, it's just a huge part of my life that I wanted to share with you guys, and I hope that it is cool to you guys. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you think it's interesting, but it is just another part of my life that was really fun. Okay, so I have some things that we'll make some sounds with while I talk to you about it. I have a bunch of cool footage to show you guys. Of course, I'm not going to put any of my music in this video because it's loud, of course. So, and this is very important. If you do want to check out the music, okay, if you're curious or do want to check out the music, I'll put a link in the description to the Spotify, or maybe I'll do all of the apps where you can stream the album that I put out last, which is by far the best album that I've ever made. Okay, so if you want to do that, link below. Okay, all right. So let's get into this video. All right. So first, just a little backstory. Before I started school, when I was a little kid, I was always really into music, and I'm not going to give you this whole story about how, I was raised in a musical home and I was always into music, so I really wasn't. Once I got to middle school, I started listening to a lot of music, a lot, and I would always, open up the covers of the albums and read all the credits and wonder, like, how they do these things, right? I am definitely 100% the person in the car where we're listening to music. I pause it like 15 times and be like, did you just hear what they said or what they did? I'm that guy. So if you're ever in the car with me and I do that, just be prepared. That's gonna happen. Okay. So anyway, always loved music, always interested in it, right? Was in choir all the way through school. So I had a little bit of background in music, but not a lot. And then sophomore year of high school, my English teacher did an assignment where we had to write a poem, okay? And no one knows how to write a poem, but I wrote a poem, right? She ended up, without telling me, she ended up putting that poem in a contest at a college near where I lived, and it actually won was like, hey, your poem's really, really good. You won this whole thing. Okay, so then I was like, well, that's cool, but didn't do anything from it. So then, senior year of high school, I had a friend. I was at a basketball game, and I had a friend be like, hey, I heard that you're into music or whatever. I don't even know how. I'd never met this person before. And they said, you know, I have a studio at my house if you ever wanted to, you know, mess around and make some music. So at first, you know, of course, I was like, I don't even know who you are. Like, what are we doing here? But eventually, about a week later, I ended up going to his house, and without even knowing it, we became really good friends, and started writing music, started producing, and I mean, it just happened really, really naturally and organically. And so I put my first album out. So before I show you these albums, I just want to say the first one or two are pretty bad. I was still learning what to do here, but I think the jump from the second album to the third and on are very good. So just do me a favor and don't listen to the first couple, okay? Because they're pretty amateur. After I started doing tours and making more money to produce better things, then it got really good. So anyway, so with that guy, I made my first album, and that is called Where I'm From. Okay, so it's Matty. I went by Matty, by the way. So that was an easy transition to go to Matty Tingles, because you know, everyone's called me Matty for a long time. So Where I'm From, first album I ever made. I'm still, you know, it's not a great album, but there's some gems on it, and I'm still very proud because nobody thought that I could do this. Okay, and there's definitely a few really good songs on it. And by the way, so anyway, that was the first album. It's 18 songs. I would say that if I made a greatest hits album in the future or something, you know, I've made hundreds of songs. If I made a greatest hits album, I think there'd be one or two off of this first album that would have to go on it, just because they did really well locally. Okay. And by the way, I know some of my audience is younger, so if you're younger and don't know what this is a CD. Okay, so before, this may seem silly to explain, but I've had to do it in real life. Before all these apps and phones and streaming music, people would use these, and it's a compact disc into a CD player, and you would play music, right? You know, there's no CD drives on computers anymore, or in cars, and all of that. So, you know, it's definitely a lost technology. But I just wanted to explain, if you're just wondering what this square is, this one's still shrink wrapped, so it's brand new. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. It's okay. Anyway, okay, so that was the first album. Okay, so the album release party of this album was actually my second show ever. Okay, we sold a bunch of tickets for it. You know, obviously, mostly my friends and local people who wanted to support, of course. But it was a really great show. Looking back on it, you know, I'm sure it was pretty bad compared to where I was a few years ago before YouTube started. But anyway, so that's the first album, called Where I'm From. And I remember I'm from, right? So all right, so where I'm from, okay. So, and I'll just throw some footage here so you can see it. I started doing a lot of shows, okay, because back then the best way to gain notoriety and fans was to perform live, right? Because there wasn't streaming services. There was, let's see, back then it would have been MySpace. Look that up if you don't know what that is. But MySpace, that was the main social media platform. So, you know, I would post on there a lot, of course. But anyway, started doing a lot of shows, and honestly, performing on stage, I would say, is the main advantage that I had to doing ASMR, because, you know, if you can do shows in front of, you know, 20 people or 5,000 people, right? Which I've done both. Then you can do anything. You know what I mean? Like standing in front of hundreds of people or thousands of people. If you can do that, you can definitely stand in front of a camera and talk to a camera, if that makes sense. At least that's my opinion. So, started doing a lot of shows. Pretty much every weekend. Friday, Saturday, I would do shows for the most part. Mostly local. You know, I would travel maybe. When I was first starting out, the farthest I ever traveled was maybe like 45 minutes. Okay, so anyway, did a lot of shows. Started getting a little fan base, right? So then I said, okay, I definitely feel like I'm getting better, right? Because when you're a musician, especially a rapper, you're writing constantly. You know, I haven't recorded a song in 3 years, and I still have a notepad, like the app in my phone, that's just full of lines that I think of. It's a never-ending thing that you do. It's embedded in you, right? Feeling like I was getting better. I started on my second album, okay, and this time what I did was from doing all the shows, I met a lot of great artists, a lot of great people, and I found a studio in Portland, Oregon, that I could record at, like an actual professional studio, instead of a friend's house, right? And you know, met producers, met other people who wanted to collaborate, and so we made my second album called The Good Years. The Good Years. So The Good Years is it's a good album. Honestly, there's a lot of great songs on it. So the difference, by the way, is the first album was in the plastic hardcover plastic, right? So then, once I started making a little more money and could make better things, I started making these eco packs, which are cardboard printed, right? And I'll open this up. There's the back, by the way. Let's put it upside down. Anyway, so second album is called The Good Years, and this was the reason I called it The Good Years was, you know, it was post high school. It was honestly like crazy college traveling, partying times, and I wanted to make an album that I could look back on and be reminded of those good times, if that makes sense, right? So that's why I named it The Good Years. This one is 18 songs. And again, if I was to make the greatest hits album, 1, songs would come off of this album. So it's a good album, great songs, way better production. Like the production on this is great because I started meeting producers, right? So anyway, I'll open this up and show you what the back looks like instead of you know, compared to the plastic case. All right, so we'll open this up here, and it's shrink wrapped, of course. And the barcode, because so I did get my album, these albums in some stores, which was really, really cool. So let's take this off here. Alright, so what these are is, this was a tri-pack, so that's the front, right? And then it opens up. Does that make sense? So it's not just the plastic front and back, it's a whole panel pack, right? So this is like a little note to the listeners. These are thank yous. Okay. This is the credits for the album, and then that's the actual CD. Good years. So these were a little bit cheaper, but also they're made of recycled material, right? So I think the print comes out cleaner on these, to be honest. They were a little bit cheaper to make. Yeah, and you could just fit more info. Again, remember when I was a little kid, I read all these credits and albums, and so I loved writing the credits. So like that's the credits. So like you know, each song, the producer who wrote the song, all of that stuff. So okay, so the good years, right? Okay, so then I kept doing shows. At that point I was probably at maybe like 50 shows or so. So I was doing a lot of live performances, which was really, really fun. You know, of course I'm gonna keep sprinkling in show footage just to show you kind of you know, what the environment was like for those. Alright, so then in between this album, okay, and the next album, I did a mixtape, and I'm not even, people don't really do mixtapes anymore, but especially for rap, in the late 2000s, it was really popular to take popular beats, right, and rap over them and put them out for free, right? So you couldn't sell them, of course, because, you know, you don't own the rights to the music, right? But like, for instance, I would take like a you know, like a Lil Wayne song that everyone knew, right? I would get the instrumental for it and then write my own stuff over it and put it out for free, right? So in between this album, I put out a mixtape, and I I thought this was really funny. I don't know if anyone else did, but so the mixtape was rapping on beats, right? On other people's beats, right? So I put a mixtape out. I put a mixtape out called, literally the title of the mixtape is called Rapping Over Beats That Are Already Popular. And I just thought that was like a funny, you know, play on that. So that mixtape did really, really well online. Okay, so people could stream it online at that point, and that got some traction for me, right? So that actually did pretty well online. I booked some shows from it. It did really well. So the shows that I booked from that mixtape helped me fund the next album, which I think is the second best piece of work that I did. Okay, so yeah, so the next album is called That Moment. Okay, like it was a turning point for me. I had way bigger production, right? I had some pretty big features at the time, and it just felt like this album might be the coming out party. Everyone had heard the other albums, but this is the one that could propel me to bigger stages, right? So that's why I called it That Moment. Okay, so then this one opens up like that, and so this is all the credits. And then I thought it would be cool to under the disc is where the thank yous are. So I thought that was really cool. So this album had arguably the biggest song of my career. The song is called Blast Off. Okay, it was number 3. I don't know if you'll be able to see number 3. Blast Off right there. And Blast Off was the biggest song off this album. It played on the radio. It even played at Portland Trailblazer games. Like it was the single that we pushed for the album, right? And actually, this is the only time I'm gonna plug this because I don't really upload to the channel anymore. But there's a video for Blast Off, so if you just type in Matty Blast Off on YouTube, there's a music video for it. So that was the first music video that I shot as well. So anyway, that moment. Okay, alright, so between that moment and the last album that I made that is linked, that I would love if you went and listened to, between that I did 2 more mixtapes. Now the problem with that is they are albums. they are not rapping over beats that are already popular. They are all original music, and I should have, in hindsight, I should have released them as albums, but I released them as free mixtapes. I think they probably cost me 10 grand, probably 10 or 15 grand to put out for free, which was a huge mistake. So those 2 mixtapes were called Mr. Nice Guy 1 and 2. And Mr. Nice Guy, I think that every artist at some point has like an era of your art where you don't feel like things are happening like you want them to, and you get mad and you make music about it. So Mr. Nice Guy the reason I called it that was everyone thinks that I'm a nice guy, and I am. Of course I am exactly the person that I am on this channel. But in that era I was I wouldn't say angry, but just like frustrated, right? So I called it Mr. Nice Guy. But it was more like me saying like, okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy. I'm gonna say what I really want to say. So those 2 albums came out. I call them albums, but they were technically, let's call them free albums. So those 2 albums came out. They did really, really well. My favorite song, I have 2 favorite songs that I've ever done. Number 1 is on Immortal, which is the last album. And then the other one is on Mr. Nice Guy 2, which is called Out of Time. And there's actually a music video for that too, if you want to type in Matty Out of Time, right? Mr. Nice Guy 1 and 2 came out. I got a ton of press on those albums. I was on local TV shows. I started doing more tours off them and traveling to other states. I started doing my own tours instead of just booking shows. So I did 2 Matty tours, like actual tours of me. And so that's a lot of this footage that I'm showing you are from those tours. So started touring way more, right? And just having a blast, right? Genuinely, like it was some of the best times of my life. You know, traveling and being on stage, and you know, just having really great nights with great people. It was amazing. It was amazing, and especially, you know, there is nothing like going to a place you've never been, to a different state, and people lined up to see you. I mean, that's like, it's unbelievable, right? And then when you're on stage and you see them, they know the words that you wrote. It's just unreal. So then between that, I did a bunch of openings, right? So I opened for, like, off the top of my head, I opened for like E40, Kid Ink, Twista. I can't even think of all the people. I did a lot of opening for big acts, right? So then came the last album, okay? And the reason that it was the last album was I got to a point where I was working on the music and touring and all of that so much that honestly, one day it kind of hit me that I'm missing out on a lot of life. And I won't go too much into that, but it just kind of hit me that, like, I've been working really hard on this career for 6 or 7 years now. I've been successful with it, but, like, look at all the things I've missed out on by doing that, right? So a lot of decisions were made, and I decided that when I make this album, I'm not saying, and this is me talking right now, I'm not saying that this will be my last album, because I miss it. I love making music, and honestly, like, if you guys want music and another side of me, I would maybe consider making more music. But I wanted to make this album. If it was indeed my last album, I wanted to make it count, okay? And so that's why I named it Immortal, okay? I wanted it to live forever. I want it to be the one that you hear and it doesn't die, if that makes sense, right? I want it to be immortal. I want the music to live longer and last longer than I do, okay? So I pulled all my resources together, by far the most expensive album I made, and I made Immortal. Immortal, it is, like I said in the beginning of this video, it's by far the best album I ever made, okay? It's the best music, it's the best writing I ever did, it's the best songs, it's the best project, it's the best artwork, you know, aesthetically, it's the project that I'm the most proud of, okay? So, Immortal. Okay, and this is the album that I put links in so you can go stream it for free. This is the album that if people go, Matty, I want to hear your music, I send them to this because it's a great piece of work. So this is the front cover of Immortal. The back. Okay, and then the inside is really cool because, again, if you're still watching this video, the past albums and artworks were attractive and colorful, and I wanted this one to feel timeless, right? So the inside is all black and clean. So, like, on the inside, I have this really cool thing where it's called Immortal, right? So we did Immortal and the meanings of the word immortal. And, immortal, the adjective, living forever, never dying or decaying. I thought that was a really cool way to say goodbye, is to make an album that I hope lives forever, right? So as you can tell, way less text than the others, right? Just simple, to the point. Even my thank yous, way less writing, and just, I think I was to the point where I said, like, just listen to the music. I don't care about the other stuff in here. Just listen to the music. So, Immortal comes out, and by far the most successful album. I sold the most albums, the most streamed, because, you know, iPhones and streaming services and stuff were out by now for sure. And it's this album is just very very special to me, and it reminds me of a time in my life, and that's what I wanted. And then there's a song on here that's the last song, and it's just called Outro. It's called Outro, Until Next Time. And that song's really, really special, and it's kind of a recap of my whole career. And then I think the last line, let me think, the last line is, it's something about, like, I showed you that I have a heart. No, that's how you should remember me, or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, this is the album that I would show people. So if you're out there and you want to listen to some Matty music, definitely listen to Immortal. Do yourself a favor and just do that, because it's a good album. So before I go, I just wanted to say, just for the record, I'm not making this video, you know, for fame on the music. The music is behind me now. I enjoy what I do now, and I'm so happy that this YouTube has worked out. I'm doing this video now because it's been on my mind for 3 years, and I was really scared to make this video, and so I feel really good that I'm making the video and that I can share another side of me, right? It's really funny because, like, I've done interviews with for ASMR, and they're like, you know, we heard you did music before, and, like, you'll see if you listen to the music, like, it's literally the exact opposite of ASMR. It's, you know, ASMR is quiet and relaxing and humble and loving, and the music is loud and aggressive. You know what I mean? So you'll see, but you for sure will get to know another side of me. I was always, there's nothing made up in any of my music. It is all me, okay? I wrote every word, every single word I wrote. I'm very proud of that. It's still a hobby for me, I would say. Like I said, I still write stuff in my head all the time and write it down. And then on the music YouTube, I did a series called Bars Up, and where I just did verses that I wrote over beats again, and I miss doing that as well. So I don't know. I'm not saying that I'll ever do music again, because honestly, like, YouTube is and streaming and everything is time consuming, but I'm not gonna rule it out. Anyway, I feel so good right now that I got to share this journey with you. Finally, it's literally been like I kept a secret for 3 years. Like, anyway, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you like it. Here's what I would love, if you're still here. I know this has been kind of a long video, but if you are still here, check out the album in the description, and let me know what you think of it. I would love to, you know, my platform platform now here is way bigger than it was with music. And I think that there are some songs on Immortal that a lot of you would relate to. Oh boy. I know a lot of you suffer out there with anxiety and depression and sadness and all of that. And there's a song on the album, I think it's number 6, called Did It Alone. Did It Alone. And that is, it was the darkest, worst era of my life that I wrote that in. But that is my number 1 favorite song that I've ever done, because I got everything out that I wanted to say. It's very sad. Don't listen to it if you're trying to turn up or be happy. But that's the song that sticks out to me. And I hope that if you're going through things out there, that you can relate to it. Okay? Anyway, thank you so much for sitting here and listening to me talk. I hope you like the album. I hope you like the music. I hope that you liked seeing another side of me. And that's it. Okay, so anyway, I'm Matty Tingles. Until next time. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good